Hey YouTube, this is Astrid. I know it's been a while since I did a video, but here I am again. I do want to apologize for my absence for quite a few months now. Um, a lot of it has to do with a lot of morning sickness. I'm still in my second trimester and I'm still sick most of the time. So even though I shouldn't be using that as an excuse, it's kind of hard, to kind of get things going. But anyways, today's video, one thing I'm going to talk about something I'm struggling with as well, is fear. For me, it's the unknown. I am not very good with the gray areas. I like a lot of black and white. There's some things, yeah, understandable, but for the most part, I like to know. So with that being said, I've been kind of decided to work on one of my biggest fears, which is water. I am petrified of water, like swimming. I do not swim because I'm petrified of the water. So I'm trying to work on that, and by doing that, I'm going to try to tap into my spirituality, because it's not so much just physically, but it's more like a mental and emotional thing that goes with it. So lately I've been realizing Poseidon, who is a god of the sea and of earthquakes, who's also known to be like the main god that Atlantis worshipped, ironically. I think I'm going to try and get in touch with him a little bit more and see what I can do to overcome my fear. So there's a lot more to fear other than just things like fear of water or fear of heights and stuff like that. A lot of it has to do with the fear of the unknown. And I am so guilty of that. I am so guilty of that. One thing that I'm really bad about that when it comes to trying to find a good place of work. I've had horrible luck, okay? Especially now since I'm trying to work in areas that involve spirituality and people, and to be able to work at something like that, I have to work with those of a different faith. And so having to deal with people who are not like-minded and having to worry about what if they don't hire me because I'm of a different faith, or what happens if they don't hire me because, blah, 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 blah. What happens if I do get hired and I have to deal with a lot of emotional and mental baggage that can come along with bigotry and ignorance, and biased opinions? How do I handle that? And how do I handle that appropriately? What if it doesn't go very well? What if it really hurts what it means to be a pagan or a Wiccan? What if it doesn't go well? How am I going to be able to represent other pagans and Wiccans as well? So there's a lot of insecurities that go with that. And let's say even if I don't get this position, it's just like that in general. Because there's a church that I go to, there's a service where the chaplain talks about spirituality. 2 weeks ago, or even last week, it was kind of hard to focus last week, but 2 weeks ago definitely, everything he said I could find in the Wiccan Rede. I can find it in the Wiccan principles. It was really amazing. And so it talks about spirituality versus religion, but not everybody feels that way. And so it's kind of like, so how do I overcome that fear? Because, like a lot of pagans and Wiccans, you have that fear. That's why we're not as open as we would like to be. And a lot of it has to do with the burning times. Okay, that stuff was scary. Okay, it was really scary. And there's different ways of being persecuted nowadays. And the biggest thing that I've seen lately is the homosexual community. They're being targeted. Like currently it reminds me of their burning times. Back in their, the day it was about race. So when is it going to be turning over to religion again? And so it kind of makes me worried, with me being a leader. What if I'm not strong enough because I'm too worried about other things? So it's kind of like things like that. I do a lot of what ifs. I like to know the black and white. Like I said, gray area I don't do very well with. So that kind of thing. So with that being said, I like to know, how do you guys overcome your fears and insecurities? Because one of the biggest things about being a Wiccan, it says to overcome your fears and your insecurities so you can grow spiritually and physically and mentally in so many different ways I don't even realize. Like for some, it may be like public speaking. How do you get over your fear of public speaking? How do you do things like that? How would you do it? Especially when it could be a huge impact and you don't know if it's going to be positive or negative. So that's like kind of one thing that I'm kind of dealing with, and I'd kind of like to know some of your guys' feedback about what's going on and stuff like that. Like, how do you represent your faith and your spirituality? You don't have to be flat out saying, I am this, but even like representing yourselves or your family or anything. How do you find that perfect balance? That's me. When I have a strong opinion about something, the best word I can use is passionate. My hairdresser, it's been like 2 months since I went, so don't judge him. But like, I was telling a couple stories, and he flat out said, "You know what? You're a really passionate person." I'm like, "Oh, really?" Some people would say I'm more of a pain in the ass, because I'm become so stubborn in my opinion and my perspective of, sometimes of what's right and what's wrong, that it could really affect not only myself but others. So how do you overcome that? When somebody's really overstepping your personal values and your ethics, how do you stand your ground? As a, without the worry or fear of something. How do you become open about something that you really stand strong for? Especially if you're the only one. That's the hardest thing. Actually, speaking of, little brief knowledge, was doing something about communication between the genders, the differences in how men and women can communicate better. One thing about women, we've been programmed since we were gatherers in the beginning of time, was a community, all together, one little happy woohoo. And a part of survival was to go along with the group. They've actually done research and studies, with like kids, they put men in one, women in the other, and talk about their feelings. The boys are like, no, that's not what they do. They're about logic and status and dominance, because that was for breeding purposes back in the day. Who's going to get the first piece of meat, you can take that any way you want. But for women, it was a matter of survival, because if you weren't with the group, you were an outsider alone, and you were an easy target for predators. And so for women, it's really easy to be part of the group and socialize, and actually being outside the group can actually be a really harsh punishment, I guess you could say, even nowadays. For example, like, let's say a woman is in the business world and she's climbing up the corporate ladder and she's doing her own thing, being independent. Not only does she have to deal with the male dominant stuff, but she also has to deal with the other females being, hey, she's not a part of us. She's being persecuted that way too. And I totally forgot what I was going with this point. Oh yeah, standing on your own when it really counts. So I really want to hear feedback about what you guys have to say. How do you stand your ground, when challenges like that arise? I can give you plenty of examples. Here's one example. It was when I was enlisted. I was in airborne school. It was Christmas vacation. There was like only 20 to 30 of us for like 3 weeks. And there's this particular sergeant. His goal was to see all the females in their underwear or less. I got bit by a brown recluse on my thigh. I was supposed to go to the clinic every other day so they can do their medical stuff, okay? I don't want to say too much because I know some people have weak stomachs. Well, anyways, we're all sitting there in formation. He calls me in his office, and he wanted me to drop my drawers right then and there. And I said, no, I will put shorts on and I will show you. And he kept insisting no, he wouldn't. And I remember looking around the room, and there were so many other people who knew what was going on. They saw the bite. They saw the, I showed them medical evidence and proof. There's some people who even took me to the clinic who saw it, and they knew that was real. They knew that it existed. But he wanted to see me pull my pants down so bad. I actually stormed out. I was in E2, storming out of an E6's office, going up to the female dormitory because I knew he couldn't go in there, cussing him out as I did it. And I come to find out me and one or two other females are the only ones he didn't do that with, because we stood our ground. And so it's like kind of things like that. I can't go into further detail, but that's the quick story of it. So, and so that actually kind of hurt my career a little bit, because I stood my ground and he said I was defiant and, a pain in the ass. I guess you can say I wasn't following orders or whatever. To the point he actually wrote me up, but it got tossed on the garbage because what he did was wrong and completely inappropriate. So like when it comes to that, how do you stand for yourself? Because now, at the moment I didn't realize it, but I was also standing for other females. It's not it's like one of those things. How do you know what you're doing is right? Even if let's say it's not a situation that extreme, how would you handle confrontation when it goes against your moral and ethical values? I really want to see what you guys have to say. I really want to know what you guys have to think about this. I definitely want impact, because I know when it comes to standing on your own, like 2 feet, especially when you're alone, it can be a challenge.
Mommy.
What?
I want to watch those videos again.
We can do that here in a little bit. Let me finish this and then we can do that, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I want to taste.
It won't be too much longer. I'm almost done, okay?
This doesn't look funny on you.
You're cute. Your sister's calling you. Please go respond so she quits yelling. Thank you. Yeah, I love my kids. That was my youngest. Oh, she keeps me on my toes. She really does. She's awesome. I love my kids. And so does my other one. Her and I have different personalities. So parenting is definitely an adventure. For those of you who are new to it or haven't done it yet, it is a lifelong adventure. So, but anyways, like I was saying, how do you stand against the odds? Like the salmon goes up the stream, type of thing. I know it's kind of cheesy, but yeah, I really want to know you guys' input on how you guys handle confrontation and differences like that. So just let me know. Once again, I am Astrid. My kids are about ready to go crazy. They want to see funny animal videos. So we're gonna let you go.
Who's that?
Oh, I'm doing a video for YouTube again. I haven't done one for a while. Do you want help?
I got.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off. This is Astrid. Thank you again for watching my videos. I definitely want to hear feedback from anyone and everyone. Let me know. Okay. Bye.